Good morning, everyone. We are continuing with our class on hemoglobin. All right, and in the last few classes, last two lecture classes, we discussed about structure of hemoglobin and how oxygen interacts with hemoglobin. All right, so I hope you have seen those videos as we are covering competency number 5.2, which denotes the structure and function relationship of hemoglobin. After we complete competency 5.2, we will move on to other competencies regarding heme, that is 6.11. Okay, but that's not our concern now. We are still in competency 5.2. Fine. So today we will continue where we stopped in our last lesson, that is the mechanism of cooperative binding of oxygen with hemoglobin. Now, what is cooperative binding? First of all, heme is an allosteric, acts as an allosteric enzyme, okay, to the ligand. The ligand is oxygen, okay. Positive allosteric inhibition means binding of one ligand facilitates binding of other ones, okay. What exactly it is? Imagine there is a party, okay, and at a party there are room for many people, okay, but there are 4 rooms, okay. In that party there are 4 rooms, and there's a group of friends who want to go, right? So how we can visualize the scenario? Suppose there are 4 friends, okay, so none of them are willing to go to the party because all the rooms are empty, right? But since all the friends are bored, someone has to get in, okay. So at first the first friend goes, right? When the first friend goes, then rest of the group, someone might be think, okay, fine, since he has gone, I also want to check it out. But the rest 2 friends are a snob type, unless they have too much crowd around them or they are not comfortable going alone. You understand what I mean? So next what happens? Subsequently, more friends will check out, okay. Since now the party has got 2 rooms already filled, next more friends will check out. And since it has got so many people already, it's a happening party, so when it comes to the 4th room, there will be many people who will be willing to check out. Basically, this is the analogy I can give you. So binding of one molecule of oxygen will facilitate binding of another molecule. But the thing is, I told you in my previous class, one hemoglobin molecule can bind 4 molecule of oxygen. So one oxyhemoglobin is basically 4 heme plus 4 globin plus 4 oxygen. The point being, the 4 sites, the 4 oxygen doesn't bind simultaneously, okay, it happens one after another. Fine. So when one subunit binds effectively, it then increases the affinity or binding chance or attraction of the other molecule of oxygen subsequently to the adjacent subunit. This is known as positive cooperativity, just the analogy that I told you just now. Fine. So it has been seen that the first person who went to the party, he was not willing at all, he was skeptical, rather उसको जाना ही नहीं था, क्या हो रहा है, या फालतू मतलब empty party, वहाँ पे कोई भी नहीं है, तो क्यों जाए? And the last person who is going, he barely gets a chance. I mean, he has a strong urge to go because it is so much happening party. Same thing happens in case of oxygen and hemoglobin interaction. The 4th oxygen, the last one who enters the party, actually has got 300 times more attraction as well as 300 times more quicker. So both the affinity as well as the speed at which it binds. So it binds more rapidly and tightly. Okay, 300 times more compared to the first oxygen molecule, right? So basically, if we look into hemoglobin, it is a remarkable machinery, but how does it work? Generally, it works due to, it is possible, it is not possible for all protein. Yes, it's possible for those allosteric proteins that has got similar positive cooperative property, okay. The basic principle will be same for all allosteric proteins, but in your syllabus, as the NMC competency mentions, hemoglobin is a must. There are other things also, right? So what exactly happens? You see, imagine the plane of heme I told you. Okay, the 4 pyrrole rings. Okay, the 4 pyrrole rings are connected like this. Protoporphyrin ring 9. Okay, protoporphyrin 9. So iron is connected to the center. This is the plane if we look at a 2 dimension. But if we flip this, I mean if we look at a 90-degree, then what will happen? The plane of porphyrin will be at a level, there will be iron and there will be histidine and there is oxygen. This diagram I already showed you in my previous class. What is interesting to note is this plane of iron and the plane of porphyrin is not at the same level. Okay, let me show you diagrammatically what happens. I'll take a video and I'll try to show you. You just need to follow. And first, okay, this I told you. These are the pyrrole ring planes. There is iron, there is histidine and there is oxygen. Okay. What happens? Actually, the iron, okay, the iron is at a level which is above the plane of porphyrin ring. Okay. The iron is actually specifically 55 nanometer above the plane of porphyrin ring. So, if you visualize the reality, the iron is actually on top. Okay, this is the plane of porphyrin and this is iron. Okay, so in reality, this is actually a dome shaped. The deoxyhemoglobin, the deoxygenated form, actually maintains a dome shape just because iron lies at the top of the dome. Okay. Now, what happens when an oxygen molecule comes? When an oxygen molecule comes, it drags the iron down. Okay, you see what's happening. Iron was originally above the plane of porphyrin ring. If you look at the 3D structure, it's just like that. Iron is above the plane of porphyrin. Oxygen comes and it drags the iron in the same plane as the porphyrin ring. Okay, this is what we are trying to discuss in the last class, but now you can understand. Generally, iron is at a plane above, so basically this is domed. Okay. Now, when oxygen enters, it pulls the iron along with the histidine also. This F8 histidine or proximal histidine. Okay. This is also pulled. This small change, okay, this small change creates a gap. You can see at first the heme, I mean both these globin chains were so close to each other. Now that the oxygen has entered, okay, there is a gap because oxygen has pushed itself, number one, and it has pulled the iron in between two. So it has created a relaxed conformation. Here in the deoxygenated state, since iron was at the level above the globin chain, there is a steric hindrance. Okay, in any allosteric protein, there is a steric hindrance, that is due to 3D conformation of other molecules that prevents some molecules to interact with each other. So this steric hindrance is released when oxygen comes. And in subsequent oxygenation, this steric hindrance is released further. Okay, I'll just show you in another video what exactly is happening over here. Okay, so I'll show you. So just know this: when first oxygen binds to the iron in heme of hemoglobin, okay, the heme is drawn into the plane of porphyrin ring. Okay, and this initiates a series of small conformational chains that are transmitted to the adjacent subunits. So when one unit changes, the other subunits also get a signal that, well, that party is happening, so also I want to invite people into my room, right? Just like that. So this oxygen ligand binding information is transmitted from one subunit to another. Okay, now just see what's happening. Originally, this is the 3D structure of hemoglobin, right? For our argument's sake, we will consider hemoglobin like this. Okay, so these are the globin chains. Okay, and this is the central iron atom. Okay, this is a representation of the structure of deoxygenated form of hemoglobin, right? Just look how much it is closer to each other, these two arms, okay, these two arms of the helices. Now when oxygen comes, okay, as I told you, it will push the iron towards the center and it will itself get into the crevice, okay, it will get into the gap, it will push the arms and it will create a relaxed conformation. See what's happening? It has made this whole thing a bit wider in gap, and as I told you, once it has widened, this gap has widened, the same information will pass to the adjacent globin molecules or heme molecules. Alright, now these are also widened. So since it is wide, now the second oxygen will be, it will be much easier for the second oxygen to get into the party, okay. And there is a change that is also going on. You see over here, in between a gap is being created, okay. Over here all these are tightly attached. As soon as it changes to a wide opening, okay, the second molecule enters, it further sends the information and it gets further widened. So now the third molecule can enter much more easily, and the fourth molecule can just enter. It has got 300 times more affinity compared to the previous molecule, the previous three molecules. So the first one entered very easily, the first one was too difficult for it to enter, right? The second one entered, but it entered with some problem. The third one, it was very easy, and the fourth one, fourth one is 300 times more attracted, right? Now there is a reason why it happens, okay. If you just look at the first original conformation, okay, these globin arms or chains, okay, these are linked by intra-chain disulfide bridges. Okay, I will write down again, intra-chain salt bridges. See, I will just write down. Okay, so suppose this was the two arms of a globin where oxygen will get in, okay. There are multiple intra-chain salt bridge. This salt bridges actually stabilize the deoxygenated form of hemoglobin, okay. This whole dome shaped, okay, everything is very much tensed and put together, okay. So you understand, whenever you take a piece of hard plastic and you make a dome, you just curve it, it is under a lot of tension. But how can you maintain the curve? Unless you maintain pressure, the curve will not be maintained, right? A hard piece of plastic, you just bend it, make a dome, okay. This tension, this pressure is maintained by the salt bridges. So when oxygen enters, the salt bridges are broken. So there are multiple salt bridges. As one oxygen keeps entering, the more and more salt bridges continue to break, alright. And I told you this ligand binding information is transmitted from one subunit to another. That is why when one widens, others also widen, and it facilitates entering of other oxygen molecule, right? And the reverse changes generally happens during deoxygenation. 2,3-BPG plays a role, we will tell you. Now see, very interesting, a gap which was not there after 4 molecule of oxygen enters, there is a huge gap that is created in between compared to this form. So this is known as the tensed form, which was a dome shaped, okay, there was no gap, okay, there is no space in between the two, right, and there are multiple salt bridges, and when oxygen enters, it leads to a more relaxed form. Again, I will explain what is T and what is R form, we will discuss the difference, everything. Just remember, for now, deoxygenated form is the tensed form and oxygenated form is the relaxed form. You can remember OR or whatever, okay. So oxygenated form is the relaxed form. Now, there is a gap that has been created in between, okay. So who takes the advantage of this? 2,3-BPG takes the advantage of this, and now 2,3-BPG will enter over here, okay. And when 2,3-BPG enters at lower pH, this hemoglobin subunit has more affinity for 2,3-BPG, and at higher pH it has got more affinity for oxygen, okay. So what happens, the changes occurs back and forth. So when oxygen is low, okay, 2,3-BPG will enter and it will push out the oxygen molecule, and when oxygen is high, 2,3-BPG will get out and oxygen will enter, right. This is what exactly happens in oxygenation and deoxygenation. I'll tell you. See, so during deoxygenation, what happens? Hemoglobin releases its bound oxygen. Deoxygenation means at the tissue level, where oxygen tension is low, tissues need oxygen. Therefore, hemoglobin gives out oxygen by just letting the oxygen molecule go. And when one oxygen molecule goes, the molecule shrinks, and the others also tend to lose them very quickly. So both of them are occurring very fast, okay. Initially the rate is very slow, okay, so it has to kick start dena padega. So once it starts, the 4 molecules are added in rapid succession. Same, when it loses, the first molecule has to get loose, and then all the other molecule is rapidly lost, right. So during oxygenation, the first loss prompts the other 3 molecules of oxygen to be released very quickly. Now, what is the benefit of this? Okay, the benefit of this is a hemoglobin can pick up and deliver the largest load of oxygen from the lungs and deliver it to the tissue. Okay, what if, we will be discussing T and R form of hemoglobin. So, what if the distribution of oxygen was linear in relationship? Okay, what if this was the scenario? It means as much oxygen is increasing, so in 25%, so whenever oxygen is 0, linear relationship means that whenever oxygen is 0, oxyhemoglobin is 0. Whenever there are 25% of oxygen, there will be 1 oxyhemoglobin molecule. I mean 1 subunit of hemoglobin that will be oxygenated. When there is 50% P50 or 50% oxygen saturation, 2 molecule will be saturated. It means at 75% of saturation of oxygen, there will be only 3 molecule of hemoglobin that will be saturated with oxygen, and it is only when it is 100% oxygen saturation is there in blood, then only hemoglobin will be 100% saturated, right. If it was so, if that was the case, lungs couldn't have picked up the maximum amount of, I mean the hemoglobin couldn't have picked up the maximum amount of oxygen at the lungs, right. Same case scenario occurs at the systemic level. If there was no cooperative binding, the hemoglobin would still be attached to the oxygen molecule. But in reality, what happens? We need the hemoglobin to be maximally saturated at the lung level so that it can pick up maximum amount of oxygen. And we also need the hemoglobin to suddenly drop down whenever the oxygen saturation is getting low. It cannot wait for 50% and then 25% and then 0. It has to fall very sharp, Okay, so from this basic need, the biological trend, if we just plot the 50%, 75% and 25%, so you see in reality what happens, even at 40% oxygen saturation, right, 75% of hemoglobin is already occupied with oxygen. So whenever the concentration drops, the hemoglobin has got much more oxygen to deliver into the tissue. Compared to that, if it were a linear relationship, it would have been problematic. Okay, I am making you understand again in Hindi. देखो क्या हो रहा है, ऑक्सीजन को मैक्सिमम सप्लाई देना है फ्रॉम लंग्स टू द टिश्यूज, ठीक है, एंड कौन सप्लाई देगा, हीमोग्लोबिन सप्लाई दे रहा है, ठीक है, ऑक्सीजन को पकड़ के. अब अगर हीमोग्लोबिन ये बोलता कि मुझे 4 ऑक्सीजन देंगे तो ही मैं 100%, इट इज जस्ट हाउ यू आर पेइंग समथिंग, ठीक है, समवन, तो उसको अगर तुम मैक्सिमम पैसा दोगे तो वो मैक्सिमम काम करेगा, ठीक है, 50% पैसा दोगे तो 50% काम करेगा, ऑलराइट. बट हाउ हीमोग्लोबिन इज देयर, हीमोग्लोबिन कैसे काम करता है, ज्यादा पैसा नहीं लेता है, लेकिन जब थोड़ा पैसा उसको मिलता है वो पूरा काम कर देता है, राइट. सो बेसिकली even if you give him a less amount of money, he will work at maximum load. So at the level of lung where there is a lot of money, that is oxygen. So where was I? So there is maximum money, that is oxygen. Hemoglobin has already reached its maximum function because it can reach its maximum function even if you give him less amount of money, right? However, when there is crisis of money, he will simply give out his money because he is not greedy, right? Same case with hemoglobin. It has got low affinity for oxygen just when concentration is getting lower, but it has got high affinity whenever concentration is above P40, I mean 40 millimeter of mercury. So basically this is the analogy. It starts slowly, it goes up very rapidly, and then it already reaches maximum by the time it reaches lung. So this ensures that maximum amount of oxygen can be picked up from the lung and maximum amount of oxygen can be delivered to the tissues, right? And if we simply plot the curve, it gives us a sigmoid shaped curve, right? Very important. So this is actually the oxygen dissociation curve. We'll again look at the oxygen dissociation curve, but you have to understand why the sigmoid nature is there. It is there because the first it takes time to start, okay? As soon as it starts, it reaches the plateau, and once it reaches the plateau, it remains at the plateau even if you can see the oxygen saturation is not 100. Compared to if it were linear, it would have taken much more amount of oxygen to fully saturate the oxyhemoglobin molecule, right? So now we already briefly discussed. We will now look specifically at the taut and relaxed forms of hemoglobin, right? We need to understand them in a bit detail. So since I already told you, during loading and unloading of oxygen, whenever oxygen is getting attached and it is getting detached, there is a considerable amount of allosteric movement, and that movement is happening because of the oligomeric or tetrameric structure of the hemoglobin molecule. There are 4 different subunits in the hemoglobin molecule. Now there are there are different models for these 4 different subunits, okay? How cooperative binding happens, okay? There have been many models that have been proposed, okay? First, let me tell you, the exact molecular mechanism is still unknown, right? It is still unknown. So even you and I have got a chance, if we get somehow at some point of time get interested in hemoglobin, okay, we can look into it, and there's a scope for getting Nobel Prize over there if you can explain the mechanism of hemoglobin cooperativity. But still, models means proposed hypothesis, okay? It's still a model. Things work if we think in that way, but it has not been proved, okay? A law means it is there, right? So what are the model? The first model that you need to know is this MWC model, okay? Monod, Wyman and Shangu, okay? This is pronounced as the Shangu's model, okay? This is also known as concerted model. Okay, Monod, Wyman and Shangu model or concerted model. They first proposed that the allosteric proteins, mind it, this is a model for all allosteric proteins. Any protein that shows cooperativity, any allosteric protein that shows cooperativity can be explained by this model. So this also applies for hemoglobin. Okay, so these allosteric proteins can exist in two state. Okay, T state or R state. Okay, so now we are getting into specific state of hemoglobin. So this relaxed state is when ligand is bound. Okay, that is oxygen, and the tensed state or taut form is when the ligand is detached, that is oxygen in case of deoxyhemoglobin. Okay, what they proposed is, very carefully look into this. Okay, this is the diagram that I already showed you in the video, in the form of video. So when one gets in, okay, this is oxyhemoglobin. When oxyhemoglobin is facilitated, it creates a gap. Okay, then 2,3-BPG will go in, it is BPG, of course. When 2,3-BPG goes in and 2,3-BPG will drive out all the oxygen. So these changes occurs back and forth. So these are two forms of hemoglobin, taut and relaxed form. What they proposed is, now this is a complex diagram. Okay, let me explain. Right? So what they told, this is a subunit, or this is a quaternary structure of hemoglobin. Okay, where all the subunits are in taut form, right? And this is a subunit where all the subunits are in relaxed form. Get my point? Their model of cooperativity, they proposed that these two are existing together, right? And when one oxygen binds, it will influence this adjacent molecule, right? How it binds, I already showed you how it influences the adjacent molecule. Okay, so one gets opened and another molecule gets further opened, just like that. What they proposed is, oxygen can bind simultaneously to both the taut form and relaxed form, and they are in equilibrium. So you just write this down. MWC model, the hypothesis. The hypothesis of MWC model states that the allosteric proteins or hemoglobin simultaneously exists in taut and relaxed form. Okay, I am giving you time to write down. Hemoglobin simultaneously exists in taut form and relaxed form, right? No single change in monomer reconformation happens. You get my point? Even if 4 hemoglobin molecules have attached, these are still in taut form. Very important. There is no single change in monomeric conformation. So either all the 4 will be in taut form or all the 4 will be in relaxed form. So number 1, they exist simultaneously in taut and relaxed form, and there is no single change in monomeric conformation. Okay, this is the second hypothesis. No single change in monomeric conformation of hemoglobin. And the third thing they proposed is, oxygen binds to both taut and relaxed form, okay, and they are at equilibrium. Oxygen will bind to both taut and relaxed form and they are at equilibrium. It can be represented in a simple way, just like this. Okay, so L means oxygen, ligand. So in this case all are in taut form, in this case all are in relaxed form. So binding of one ligand will facilitate binding of another. It is true for both taut form as well as relaxed form, and both of them are in equilibrium. Everything is in equilibrium. This is also in equilibrium, this is also in equilibrium and these two are also in equilibrium. Okay, everything is relaxed. I mean, everything is under equilibrium. Now what happens? See, this is more stable. Okay, this is why this is more stable, because there are multiple salt bridges. So they don't need oxygen, right? So hemoglobin molecule needs more stability. So when one oxygen molecule binds, okay, when one oxygen molecule binds, basically they don't need oxygen. So what they do, they ask, okay, more and more, if this is formed, I'll be relieved. I think this is confusing. Okay, fine. You don't get into the further detail how this change occurs. Okay, nobody will be asking you this one. Okay, just focus on this point that everything is in equilibrium. Okay, this form equates this form. I mean, if this form is more, it will lead to formation of this form. This is much more easier to know. Okay, so whenever, so if this is more, okay, where the reaction will go, it will go towards this side or it can go towards this side. So if ligand is more, okay, so see, A reacts with B to form C plus D. Okay, so if this is more, the reaction will definitely proceed towards this. Okay, so if there is more and more ligand, okay, they will lead to formation of more and more oxyhemoglobin molecule. So remember, in any equilibrium reaction, if one side of the reaction becomes more, the equilibrium is pushed towards the other side. So similarly, so when there is less oxygen, there is need for more and more oxygenation, and whenever there is more oxygen, there is need for oxygen to get relieved. Okay, so whenever there is less oxygen, there is need for more oxygen, and whenever there is more oxygen, there is need for deoxygenation. This is how this whole reversible thing happens. What MWC postulated is there is no single change. I mean, either this will be all square, that is in taut form, or all will be circle, relaxed form, and ligand can bind simultaneously to both the forms and they are also in equilibrium. So if there is more relaxed form, they will also lead to formation of more taut form, and if there is more taut form, they will also lead to formation of more relaxed form. So everything is balanced. Okay, this is their model. So MWC model is this. Okay, a schematic representation. The next model is Koshland sequential model. So first one was MWC, Monod, Wyman and Shangu, and the second one is Koshland, the same guy who discovered induced fit model of enzyme activity, right? His model is a sequential model. He says, no, there cannot be so that whenever one molecule binds, it becomes, everything is taut and everything is relaxed and oxygen is binding specifically to one molecule. It is not possible. Okay. So single monomeric change has to happen. This is much more acceptable. Okay, this is much more acceptable compared to our video, right? So this is what happens whenever, so there are, in this case, so ultimately it becomes from this to this, where all the ligands are bound. Okay. Now in this model, the only difference is there are multiple possibilities of intermediates. It's because there is a room for single monomeric shift as well. Okay, so these states are not found in MWC model. So basically these two models are not mutually exclusive, right? If you just consider this side and this side, it is just same. Okay, if you just look at the two diagram, okay, it is just same. Everything is in equilibrium. Okay, if this is more, they will lead to formation of this, what was there in MWC model. But in addition, they will also lead to production of these two structure. Okay, so there are multiple more intermediates. So these are the models that are still being worked upon to exactly understand the cooperative nature of oxygen binding. Mind, it is still not known. It is still not that simple how I showed you in the pictorial illustration, that one is opening and it is widening. It is that not that easy. It is just for illustration purpose, right? So there are multiple intermediate states, multiple rates at which oxygen gets lost, and it is a basically remarkable wonder of nature how someone at the top, an eternal, has devised our machinery of hemoglobin so that it can work in this way. Okay. So basically, if we look at the actual structure, real world scenario, electron microscope, they will simply look like helix with a lot of curves and gap, right? So barely you can say which one is taut state and which one is relaxed state. Okay, so in your textbooks, these figures will be given, but you won't be able to understand anything, and you don't need to draw these. Okay, this is just for your interest. What you mainly need to know is, at the end of the day, even if you fail to understand all these models, just know that everything is in equilibrium. Okay, and this is important. Okay, deoxy state of hemoglobin is in T state and oxy state of hemoglobin is in R state. You can remember, or itna at least yaad karke rakho yaar, so it's good. Now we will be discussing a bit in regarding both the T form and R form. जो चीज we have discussed, same thing will be repeating now. So the T form or the tensed form is deoxygenated form, and generally when this T form takes place, okay, and what is this T form? This T form has centrally 2,3-BPG, right? This has hydrogen instead of oxygen. Mind it, in the figure, there is centrally 2,3-BPG. 2,3-BPG facilitates removal of oxygen. Okay, so when oxygen molecule has reached its full relaxed conformation, there is a gap that is created in between, and then 2,3-BPG can enter. Okay, so in the tensed form, there is 2,3-BPG inside, right? And these are stabilized by 8 salt bridges, and basically this is a dome configuration. Okay, so remember, this T form has 2,3-BPG, it carries proton. Okay, deoxyhemoglobin facilitates carrying of proton, that is the Haldane effect. Okay, it has more affinity towards carbon dioxide compared to oxygen, right? Deoxygenated hemoglobin has more dissolved carbon dioxide naturally, and these are stabilized by salt bridges. So T form, that is the taut form, predominates in the absence of CO2, or don't say absence, because the oxygen is never zero. It is present whenever there is low oxygen tension, that is at the tissue level. At the tissue level, hemoglobin exists in taut form. Okay, and naturally it has got lower affinity of oxygen, lower affinity for oxygen at lower PO2. That is why it doesn't suck up all the oxygen, it can let go. That is what we need, right? We need hemoglobin to change to T form, then only it can give out oxygen at the tissue level where oxygen saturation is low, right? And who stabilizes this? It's actually this 2,3-BPG that is occupying the center of the taut form, that stabilizes the deoxy state of hemoglobin. Okay, so this I told you in the previous slides. Hemoglobin has more affinity. This is a very important one. Hemoglobin has more affinity for 2,3-BPG when PO2 is low. We have read in physiology that 2,3-BPG helps in release of oxygen. It helps in shifting of the curve to the right. We will be discussing that. What do you mean by shifting of curve to the right? But know this, 2,3-BPG has got more affinity for hemoglobin when PO2 is low, right? So now what happens? Okay, this R form of hemoglobin should change to T form when oxygen is low, right? So what is happening? So this R form, that is fully oxygenated form of hemoglobin, that has come from the lungs, it reaches the area where oxygen tension is low, PO2 is low, it attracts 2,3-BPG, it binds with 2,3-BPG and it lets go of the oxygen. Okay, you get my point? So at when the whole molecule of oxygen is lost, it finally attains the T form. But when it is loaded with oxygen, whenever there is oxygen, it is R form. Okay. So whenever oxygen is there, it is the R form. Now let us look at the R form of hemoglobin, simply reversed. Okay. R form means O and R, oxygenated form of hemoglobin. Okay. R is a relaxed conformation, it is more relaxed, it is planar conformation. I told you when oxygen binds, it pulls the iron in the same plane of the globins. Okay. And why it happens? Salt bridges are broken. So during oxygenation, salt bridge of T form are broken and T form is transformed to R form. Okay, R form is less constrained, there is much less tension. This happens because salt bridges are broken down. So you have curved a thick piece of paper, I mean plastic, into more bent position. If you let go of the pressure, it will return to its original position. So it is much less constrained. The planar conformation is much more stable. Okay. And this R form has higher affinity for oxygen in high PO2 environment, that is lungs. In lungs, hemoglobin changes to R form and it now attracts oxygen. Remember in T form, it was letting go of the oxygen, oxygen छोड़ रहा था, अब इसको oxygen चाहिए. Fine, just the reverse. So at the lungs, where PO2 is high, the T form now basically this is hemoglobin. Okay, T form अभी क्या है? जब ऑक्सीजन हाई है, then it has got a high affinity for oxygen. अभी इसको 2,3-BPG नहीं चाहिए, right? चिकन, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग, इफ यू आर नॉन वेज डोंट माइंड, चिकन मिला तो हमको दाल चावल नहीं चाहिए, right? Whenever there is high supply, for example, and whenever supply is very low, सड़ा हुआ चिकन है तो नहीं भाई नहीं चाहिए, आप ही लो ये चिकन, हम दाल चावल से काम चला लेंगे. It is just like that. So whenever oxygen is high, now it will attract more oxygen. It will let go of the 2,3-BPG. 2,3-BPG को निकाल देगा, निकाल के it will now change to R form. So the T form attracts oxygen whenever oxygen is high. Excluding 2,3-BPG means 2,3-BPG को लात मार के निकाल देगा. 2,3-BPG is gone and it transforms into the R form, right? So in R form, okay, there is no 2,3-BPG, there is no proton, there is no carbon dioxide. Okay, only oxygen is there in the relaxed state. ये सारे कहाँ पे थे? ये सारे थे इन डीऑक्सी फॉर्म और टी फॉर्म. टी फॉर्म में 2,3-BPG रहता है, प्रोटॉन हाइड्रोजन आयन रहता है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रहता है. ओके, इन आर फॉर्म ऑक्सीजन भी रहता है, डेफिनेटली देयर इज ऑक्सीजन आल्सो, बट इन केस ऑफ आर फॉर्म देयर इज ओनली ऑक्सीजन. ओके, so this is what happens whenever there is high PO2, T form will change to R form, and whenever there is low PO2, R form will change to T form in deoxy, right? Deoxy means T form and oxy means R form. OR, बस इतना याद रखो. So MCQ, वन लाइनर, एक वर्ड में एग्जामिनर पूछेंगे तब उतना नहीं सोच के दिमाग में घुसा लो क्या बोलना होगा. इंक्रीज इन पार्शियल प्रेशर ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, कौन सा फॉर्म से कौन सा फॉर्म जाएगा, राइट? ऑक्सीजन मीन्स R फॉर्म में जाना है, सो इट लीड्स टू कन्वर्शन ऑफ T फॉर्म टू R फॉर्म. T से R बनेगा जब ऑक्सीजन ज्यादा है. व्हेनेवर ऑक्सीजन इज मोर, T फॉर्म विल बी कन्वर्टेड टू R फॉर्म, राइट? और लंग्स में क्या होगा, टिश्यूज में क्या होगा? सेम, लंग्स ऑक्सीजन इज हाई, सो T will change to R, and at tissues oxygen is low, R will change to T. So it depends basically on the PO2 concentration at the level of body and cells. So ऑक्सीजन में ज्यादा है तो R बन जाएगा, ऑक्सीजन कम है टिश्यू में तो T बन जाएगा. Okay, this is known as respiratory movement, this movement of hemoglobin. Okay, from T and R to T, this conformational change. Okay, I mean जो हीम के प्लेन में आ रहा था, हीम के प्लेन से ऊपर उठ रहा है, movement of histidine, all these are known as respiratory movement. ओके, सेम थिंग. देखो, दीज आर सेम लाइन, MCQ यही आएगा, कंफ्यूज हो जाओगे अगर अच्छे नहीं समझे तो. सेम थिंग, इट इज घुमा घुमा के बोल रहे हैं. ऑक्सीजन बाइंड्स मच टाइटर टू R T फॉर्म में ऑक्सीजन एफिनिटी वेरी लो, राइट. R फॉर्म ऑक्सीहीमोग्लोबिन इज मोर नेगेटिवली चार्ज्ड, डेफिनेटली. क्यों? क्योंकि T फॉर्म में प्रोटॉन कैरी करता है, वहां पे H प्लस होता है, राइट. सो इट इज लेस नेगेटिवली चार्ज्ड, राइट. R form is more negatively charged because there is no proton. Anionic form में है, Hb minus. Okay, this occurs in HHb. Okay, and this occurs in Hb minus. Hb minus means the proteins, the amino acids surrounding the heme, the globin, the alpha helix are in negatively charged form. Remember, this is one important MCQ. R form is more negatively charged. Okay. देखो, सेम आर फॉर्म का हायर एफिनिटी था टुवर्ड्स ऑक्सीजन, टी फॉर्म का लोअर एफिनिटी है, तभी तो टिश्यूज में दे पाएगा. ठीक है, आई एम रिपीटिंग द सेम थिंग ओवर एंड ओवर अगेन, बार बार बोल के दिमाग में घुसा देना है. ठीक है, इफ यू आर लिसनिंग टू मी, नींद अगर कट गया है तो. सो टी फॉर्म हैज लोअर एफिनिटी देन ऑक्सीजन. सो again, how much time is left? Barely any time left. So anyway, we started 5 to 10 minutes late. We can take some time. But this TNR form concept should be clear. We will not go into some new concept today. आज कोई नई concept और discuss नहीं करेंगे, बस ये TR, ऑक्सी डीऑक्सी, यही लेके डिस्कशन होगा. ठीक है, तो देखो ऑक्सीहीमोग्लोबिन, यहाँ पे सारा ऑक्सीजन घुस गया है, ये गैप बढ़ गया है, बहुत ज्यादा रिलैक्स हो गया. ठीक है, अभी यहाँ पे 2,3-BPG घुसेगा. ठीक है, तो 2,3-BPG जैसे ही घुसा, सारा ऑक्सीजन मॉलिक्यूल निकल जाएगा and it will again form salt bridges. Okay. So this is deoxyhemoglobin. So everything at a glance. Okay. देखो, just see, we have already discussed 4 subunit alpha to beta to held together by weak forces. Okay. The relative position of this subunit is different in oxyhemoglobin compared to deoxyhemoglobin. Definitely, एक में plain रहता है, एक में dome रहता है, एक में बगल में रहता है, एक में tightly adhered रहता है. Okay. In case of T form, that is the taut form of hemoglobin. Okay, taut form of hemoglobin has got low affinity. Most important is the hydrogen and ionic bond in taut form limits the movement of monomers. Definitely, it is more constrained. Ionic form, salt bridge रहता है, इसीलिए वो जो monomer होता है, they cannot move. It is held together very tightly. That is why it is taut form. Okay, tensed. Okay. But in relaxed form, everything is gone. Okay, it can move. Salt bridges are broken. Another change. Okay, if you have already noticed, that is the alpha 1 beta 1 and alpha 2 beta 2 dimer. Okay, ऐसा रहता है, alpha 1 beta 1 dimer. एक ये हो गया alpha 1, एक हो गया ये beta 1, ये हो गया alpha 2 and beta 2. Whenever there is oxygenation, they rotate. Okay, this alpha to beta 2 rotates 15 degree with respect to alpha 1 beta 1. समझे? So not only there is a change in the gap, not only there is a change in plane of iron, there is additional conformational change. So अगर examiner viva में पूछे कि दो changes बोलो T form and R form में, so number बोलना होगा, sir the hemoglobin heme, the iron is at a more planar configuration and during oxygenation the alpha to beta 2 dimer rotates at 15 degree. Very important, 15 degree rotate होता है, 15 degrees. Okay, so you will find this in your diagram. So in R form it is 15 degree rotated the axis. In T form it is absolutely there is no rotation, जैसे था वैसे ही रहेगा. Salt bridge break होने के बाद R form will rotate 15 degree. So these are different textbooks. Okay, different textbook में different diagram है. Basically everything is same. In deoxy there is no movement. Whenever oxygenation starts, धीरे धीरे movement start होता है, 15 डिग्री में जाके रुक जाता है when all the 4 molecules are oxygenated. Okay, this is another diagram that is showing you how oxygen pulls the whole thing. So originally ऐसे था, whenever oxygen is coming, it is becoming a planar conformation. So depending on what textbooks you are using, diagram रहेगा. And this is the final slide for the day. एक बार देख लो जो जो पढ़ाए है, tensed form and relaxed form. You can take a screenshot over there. Everything is there over here. राइट, एक चीज नहीं है 15 की रोटेशन, बिकॉज आई टोल्ड यू दैट. सो देखो, डीऑक्सी हीमोग्लोबिन इज इन टॉट फॉर्म, इट बाइंड्स विद कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड H plus and 2,3-BPG. Okay, oxyhemoglobin is in R form, it binds with only oxygen. Fine. T form, it has got 8 salt bridges basically between the dimer, and it is much more constrained. Okay, there is limiting movement, is limiting, monomeric movement is not allowed. When oxygenation starts, salt bridge breaks. Okay, and it is much less form, movement is allowed. Okay, in T form, that is deoxygenated form, 2,3-BPG is centrally located. Okay, it binds with 2,3-BPG, and whenever oxygenation starts, 2,3-BPG is extruded out, right? Regarding affinity, it has got low affinity for oxygen because it needs to give out oxygen at the tissue level, whereas R form of hemoglobin needs to gain oxygen from lungs, so it has got higher affinity for oxygen. And lastly, basically this dictates, इसके वजह से ही चेंज होता है, that is the level of PO2. T form dominates when there is low PO2 and R form dominates when there is very high PO2, right? So this is where we will stop today, and in the next class we will be determining what is the significance of this tetramer structure. यही है, this is the significance. We will summarize what we have discussed today in the next class, and then we will shift to oxygen dissociation curve. Okay, so अच्छे से पढ़ो इसको, एक बार बुक में देखो. If you have got any query, you can ask me in the WhatsApp group, or you can post in the comment section, and I will see you again with another video. Till then, bye and take care.